Up next is a fireside chat with category nuts, category creators and leaders. Welcome to the show, Manny Medina, co-founder and CEO of Paid, formerly Outreach, and Mark Organ, founder of Eloqua and Influitive. Super excited to host you here, and we are discussing the business model of agents. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm really excited about this too.
I'm super excited. I love talking to Mark, so I don't need an excuse to talk to Mark. I will do this all the time for free anywhere.
Awesome. Let's do this.
Yes, we've definitely had some amazing chats in the past. It's so special to be able to be interviewing Manny Medina today. Manny is a software industry pioneer, veteran, legend, who created a category around sales enablement, really the first company to do marketing tools for sales reps, which was a crazy idea at the time. I remember meeting Manny. I don't even think you started your company yet, or you just had a PowerPoint in Palo Alto. We were both there, I think, raising money, and reached out to me because I had started Eloqua, and you were building a marketing tools company, used by sales reps. And that was an exciting meeting, and it's amazing what you have done with it. And I'm glad that I could provide some of my experience for Eloqua. And now we get to hear from you as you apply your experience to a truly AI native category with paid. .ai. From what I can tell, this is really the first monetization and cost tracking system for AI agents. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the category creator here. So yeah, very excited to be talking to you today. And maybe we want to start there about this transition from SaaS to AI first and pay.ai. What lessons do you apply from your experience at Outreach? And what feels fundamentally different about the kind of company you're building and who you're building it for as compared to what you did at Outreach and SaaS?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. So I'm taking a catalog of things, and I think the catalog of things not to do is even longer than the catalog of things to do. And one of the first things was that we have to look at the problem and make sure that we encompass the whole problem that our customers are facing. So when I was at Outreach, we were launching agents. And when I looked at the way that we're monetizing the agents versus what the agent did, there was a mismatch in capability and the value delivery and value capture. And when I look at my monetization stack, it was A, super expensive, B, super complicated, and C, it was not built for a world of AI and so this agentic behavior. And like if you draw a line, like agents are just getting more autonomous over time, and the platforms that are supporting our businesses are not built for that. They were built for the transition from perpetual to the cloud, but not for the transition from software to software that is being executed by agents. So I was timid when I was at Outreach, right? Like we were always second guessing ourselves. We're building the right thing for the right person. I think we agonized over the whole like category creation problem for like a year, maybe more. And the question is always like, are you part of a category that exists and you're just a better solution, or are you completely new thing? Like I don't second, like we decided to go this, to build this thing paid, and like we're just gonna call it something different. Now, what is it exactly? I don't know, but it's definitely a new category that did not exist before. So we come from the world of like seat pricing and metering, and now we're moving into a world of like outcome based pricing and task based pricing and other things. So the stuff that one of the things that I do now is that I just have a lot more confidence. I think as a second time founder, I think that you will say you had the same when you started Influitive. You just blazed through Influitive, like you were just so fast building stuff, and like I feel the same way now.
Yeah, no, great, and that's great to hear. I love your story of the pain you personally experienced at Outreach and how you developed from that. Every company that I've started has come from pain that I personally experienced. I think it's the best way to start your next company. And Yeah, no, it's great. As I think about, one of the things that I really suffered from at Influitive, even for the second time, was it's just so difficult to make your pricing work for what your customers actually want, and to charge for the value that you create. And I
Oh
remember
my God, that
going
was the
back
bane
to,
of my
go ahead.
existence. That was,
Yeah,
Jesus,
it's
that made me so
crazy.
mad.
And and even as CEO, you think that we're so powerful and we can make anything, we can make it happen. But we can't. And probably you couldn't at Outreach, and I couldn't either. I remember going back to my head of engineering and saying we have to instrument our product so that we can charge more for outcomes. And he said, well, then you're not going to get all these features. You're going to have to wait 6 months. So good luck. So I'm like, oh, okay. um, in hindsight, honestly, that's probably one of the best things I could have done is, charge, charge more for value and for outcomes. And it's really exciting that you're going to be able to help entrepreneurs be able to do that. And it's great. We're talking about distribution, agentic distribution, and everyone thinks about sales and marketing and customer service. They don't really think about the kind of product marketing and product management that can actually make the biggest impact in terms of your way you distribute. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So so what's really interesting is that when I started paid, like one of the things that you're totally gonna get this. Like when I started paid, I'm like, I need a little bit of a break from selling to salespeople. I've been doing this for 12 years, love them all, but like I just want to try something. I just want to go, I just want to go explore a little bit. Let's sell to somebody else, right? So we start paid, and we start, when we started paid, we started selling to founders, especially early stage founders. And that was fun, but they don't buy much, right? So we're building a self-serve product for them. And then at bigger companies, you have a number of places to land, right? I can sell to the CEO, I can sell to the CPO, or I can sell to the CRO, or to a number of people. And what I found out, this hit me like a truck. If you sell, if you work back from success. So what is success for most SaaS companies selling agents? Is to sell the freaking agents. You see what I mean? Is to create a landing point for all this innovation that is coming in. And that begins with a rep. You know what I mean? Like, and it works back to like, operations and marketing and product and all that, and pricing, right? So what I'm realizing now is that if you start from success and you work your way back, and like you begin your sales cycle educating the people who are at the tip of the spear of moving these agents into the customer's hands, and then you work back into like product and engineering, and like you start fitting your solution forward to backwards, it works way better than going to like the pricing committee. You know what I mean? Like the pricing committee between product and finance and sales, and try to
yeah.
land something that to a committee, right? You just go to the CRO who has a quarter to make it. Boom, you are talking their language.
I think that's so insightful. It reminds me of a concept. I'm not sure we talked about this when we had our big meeting in Palo Alto Cafe around the mafia offer. I don't know if we
Yeah,
talked about it.
yeah,
Do you remember the mafia offer? I think this is like the huge concept. It actually comes out of manufacturing, but it's something that I think every software company should pay attention to, and it's something I think you just raised. A mafia offer is an offer that no sane prospect can refuse,
right.
and so why not start there? Why not start with the customer and find out what is absolutely irresistible, and then work your way backwards? And then and I think the founder plays a massive role in this,
Yep,
is to help identify the mafia offer, and then go back to engineering and say, this is what will work for our customer, this is what they're willing to pay for, how do we make this happen?
100%.
And it sounds like that's something that you're getting at with your product, and maybe with I don't know if you do any service around your product, but something you can help with.
100%. And that was so. And it's funny because if like what you just said, you put it in the context of not only where you're selling, but how you build your company, right? So like you start making, offers that people can refuse. And then you bring it back. I was like, all right, we need to build that. You know what I mean? Like whatever they say yes to, that needs to exist. So it is super interesting because there is two insight, there is two contentions in the world of SaaS right now. One is finance and a little bit of product who says, I need a standard pricing and a price sheet and like all these very predictable ways of like, SKUs, right? SKUs are like green or brown chairs, right? Like I want those things to be moved off the shelf. And then you have on the other side, you have the people who are actually selling, meaning the CRO and the reps, who are going to customers and are understanding customer pain, and they're trying to retrofit this construct into customer pain. You see what I mean? So like, as opposed to just understanding the customer pain and you're selling against it, you're actually in this magician's world trying to like, turn seats inside out and create extra packages and like blah 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 to actually try to come up with something that makes sense for the customer and for your internal deal desk. And when you think about all your top deals, like at Influitive, like you probably have the top 10% of your customers who are paying you above $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
All those deals are custom. You know what I mean? Why?
Mm.
Because you needed to take it off the table, and you will do whatever the customer wanted. If the customer wanted to pay you $1 million in cash and $500,000 in rabbits, you're like, done. You know what I mean?
It's so true.
I gotta buy a farm to put the rabbits in. You know what I mean? And you're done with the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's such a good segue into, how do you think about product market fit maybe differently now in terms of, what does that look like at Pay.ai versus what it looked like at Outreach or for the companies that I founded in SaaS?
I think that product market fit. So the learning that I took is that product market fit is earned by every customer. Every customer buys you for a different reason. You have to make sure that they're incredibly, that your buyer is happy, that your user is happy, that the user's manager is happy, and that the customer is getting value out of it. And you will have a handful of customers that cluster around roughly the same things, but you never let go. Like you always like picking at the problem, right? Like it's like a scab. You have to pick at it for it to heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it hardening into a crust that somebody else can come in and so like, replace you with a better solution. So you have,
Yeah.
and this is not like SMB versus enterprise. This is just in general. Like you as a founder, I think that we all need to obsess about updating our beliefs around product market fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an ever evolving process and a model. Do you have like a North Star metric? Have you figured out kind of a metric that if your customers are achieving certain value, then it flows through your revenue and your success?
So we have outcome metrics, and then we have input metrics. In terms of input metrics, for us, it's the amount of what we call signals. So when you instrument your code using paid, if we're getting a lot of, if the sort of like the variety of the signal. So if we get a lot of signals in a high cardinality number of events, then we know that we have instrumented everything, and that we're they really got a handle around the entirety of their code. And then if they do that, then we can see everything the AI or the agent is doing, and then that we can create billable events. So our second signal then is invoices. Are they sending invoices? You see what I mean? So if they're sending invoices and we have captured a high cardinality of signals, we know we can help them to bill for other things, to bill for outcomes or bill for tasks or bill for units of work or whatever that is.
I see. So if they're sending invoices to their customers
Correct.
based on outcomes,
Exactly.
that's great. Yeah, it would be great. That's a pretty good one. I would think that there's got to be something around kind of the success of your customers, like that they're scaling well or scaling better. But anyway, we'll file that one away. But I think that's I feel like getting that North Star metric, and it's often an original one. And it doesn't
Yeah.
come right away. Like it takes maybe a little bit of time,
Yeah.
but that's often, I think, really important for product market fit. And I don't know if anyone in the agentic space has really figured that out yet.
No. They're all freestyling. And then, what's
Yeah.
interesting is that the other one that we track is that, so like our goal is to grow the agent economy, right? And the agent economy grows with agent builders get paid, and not only get paid in terms of like revenue, but get paid in terms of margin. So the second thing that we do is we also track, AI consumption, tool calling, and all this other stuff. So like, if we can help our customers wrap their head around each of their customers, so that each of their customers becomes their own little P&L, right? Like each of their customers say, like, this is the kind of value they're getting, this is how much you're paying you, this is the usage going up and to the right. Then we have done our job. You see what I mean? Like we have
Yeah.
empowered you to go make a business out of this.
I love it. I just got goosebumps when you said it. It really has the ring of truth for me. I remember, so my very first customer at Influitive was Zuora.
Oh my
And
God, that's an
yeah,
amazing customer.
it was an amazing first customer, and it was hilarious. It was me and my brother running around with iPads, signing up people at their first conference, their subscribed conference, signing up advocates. It was hilarious. But I had a chance to hear teens talk about the subscription economy, and it was really electrifying at the time. So this really feels like a similar thing, and I really do think the subscription economy really did power Zuora. It was a lot bigger than just building a billing system. It was enabling an ecosystem. So that feels like something that could really end up creating a category around the agentic ecosystem.
Dude, I loved what he did. Like his deck, his sales deck was legendary. Like people would pass it around as like the North Star deck. Like, you may not get there, but if you shoot in that direction, you're gonna be fine. You know what I mean? And it was an inspiring deck. It had nothing to do with billing, right? It
Yeah.
had to do with this new concept of like the subscription economy, right? And I love that inspiration. Like I want to replicate a lot of those stuff too. It took him, what I don't want to do is I don't want to take that long to like create a category because I think it took him a few years. But what I do want to do is create that inspiration where people feel inspired to be part of this movement.
Yeah, no, I think the inspiration is good. I think the challenge was honestly the product was not good for years. I know that because I used it or tried to use it, and so. But I mean, it just shows you though the power of a big idea, and people really did sign on to that. And I think there are a lot of people that are signing on to the idea of an agentic future. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Love to maybe talk a little bit about, there's a lot of founders who are on the call today who are listening in. So love to know, like, what's the hardest mental shift that you had to make as now a second time founder, and now, and I know because I'm doing some stuff in AI now, and there are a lot of things that are really different in terms of how you approach problems. And I know maybe I'm a little older than you. It's taken me some time to really change the way that I think about things to be more sort of AI centric or AI first. But love to know, like, sort of the mental shifts that you've made and what was really challenging, and maybe some advice that you give other founders.
Yeah, so I love that question because I've reflected on this quite a bit. And the first one was, so the way I built outreach, right, which was 15 years ago when we started the what became outreach 12 years ago, was engineering time was precious, right? So like we have to like always optimize for this like unique resource that was our engineer, like and everything had to be around them so that they were there was this fantastic human beings that would spit out turn your ideas into actual code. And that is change fundamentally and completely. Like your engineering time is not precious. What is precious is your customers, your customer fit, your customer feelings, the ability for you to have conversations with them and their feedback. Like that is by far the most important thing. So what do you do when the customer is a precious thing and your engineering time is not the precious thing? You build, you ship, and when things change, you throw it away and you build it again, and nobody dies. Everyone is okay with it. Why? Because with the ability to, with Claude Code or we use Cursor internally, like you can build so much faster, like it's like significantly faster, and so you don't have to be beholden to technology that was 3 months old. You see what I mean? If something else comes along, boom, just rebuild it. It's fine. Like there's no product that is so precious that cannot be vibe coded. And like the corollary to that is that the technology is changing so fast, and this is in one of your questions, and that if something doesn't work, for us, if something didn't work or it was really complicated, we were like, oh, aha, like this is gonna be a moat. So let's go build it. Let's go like dig into the technology, spend months into R&D to actually make it happen. So like, we'll build Kaya like that, right? Like it was a real time conversational intelligence thing. Nobody had it, super hard. Like you have to have like all these breakthroughs to actually make it work. Now, if something doesn't work, wait. If something doesn't work, wait 2 months. It's gonna work in 2 months. You see what I mean? Like the technology is moving so fast that sometimes just waiting it out is a better strategy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you mentioned the customer, but like, what about the customer? Is it the customer's dollars? Is it the customer's attention? Is it their time? Is it your reputation with them? Like, I mean, if you're building stuff quickly, but half of it's crap. Is that a problem? Does that
I
impact your reputation with them? So what of the customer asset are you really trying to optimize around?
Yes, that's super relevant, especially for early stage founders. So when you're early and you don't actually have a product, you don't have a ton of you don't have a ton of revenue. What you do have is customer pain. You see what I mean? You have a catalog of customer pain. That is your moat. You see what I mean? And like the deepening and understanding of the customer pain, and like the why behind the why, and like the understanding how you're gonna solve that problem, like that is by far in my mind like the most important thing, because that then you can turn that into dollars, right? And then you can turn that into repeatable dollars, and you can turn that, the ability to go find the customer pain turns this into repeatable dollars that actually grow over time.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think of it as, that insight in the customer pain, and um, maybe going further than your alternatives. I mean, that's one of the things I guess I prided myself on, in both the SaaS companies I founded. Was I feel like I went further than my competition in having a understanding of the way that they thought. I could draw maps of kind of how they thought about the world and how they thought about the problem that I was solving. And because I feel like, if you have any success at all at paid, you will have like literally hundreds of imitators within months, especially
Yeah.
now that it's so easy to code things.
So there is a YC batch every 2 months, right? So there will be 40 in each batch. If we're successful in the next batch, there will be 10. You see what I mean? Just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, so that's how are you getting a deeper insight into the problems that your customers and users have that are going to enable you to outrun the dozens of in the YC horde that's going to be coming after you if you're successful?
Um, I don't so I don't so I don't have a great answer for you. And this is one of the things
Yeah.
that have changed. It's like people are looking for moats. There's no moats.
Hmm.
There is just good running legs. That's it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And like the ability to stay in the pain longer than anybody else. Like what you said there is fundamental to a moat.
Yeah.
Like the ability to understand the customer pain better than anybody else, and like turning that into superpower that scales up your team is the moat. You see what I mean? Everything else
Yeah.
is shapeable. Like for instance, one of the things that everybody gets shit on. Like even I just came back from talking to a few CEOs, and every board, right, it still talks about the fact that you want to minimize the amount of professional services you do with your customers. Why? Because like it's not recurrent revenue, and the
Hmm.
margins are lower, and there's all this bad shit. No, like if
No.
you if you need people to understand the customer pain and custom code something, do it. Why? Because you can always recode it later. And this is a fundamental change too. And I think
I
founders get
totally
it
agree.
missed. Yeah, so like there's all these myths that we have to live with that if you're an independent thinker, you can just run through.
Yeah. No, but my very first mentor at Eloqua, taught me that. He just said happy customers scale really well. And I think what he said is do that professional services. I mean, at the time we were bootstrapped, and it also helped generate cash and whatnot. But that's, in my job as a coach, and I've worked with a number of companies that were either bootstrapped or they were on their way to bankruptcy. And the fastest way to turn these companies around is to start doing pro serve, and you get a deeper understanding of the customer, you get cash. Those customers that buy services from you are not going to churn, and eventually those services turn into product, or they turn into ecosystem where you go to partners and say, hey, you can do this too and build a business around it. I think VCs are kind of selfish about this because they make their money from hitting home runs, and so they don't want founders to diversify. They want founders to be super focused because they get their diversification by investing in lots of different founders. But I think as a founder, it's really good not to die. And
Rule number one.
yeah,
Don't die.
yeah, no. So I think services, if managed well, can be an incredible profit center. And I mean, so tell me a little bit about your professional services. Are you doing services for your customers around your product? Because it feels like you've got a lightweight product. It's easy for people to use it themselves. So tell me a little bit about that.
So um to get technical for a minute, so like the difference between our product and what came before that, seat based or metering, is that you have to lock in on your business model, early, right? You have to decide, like, I'm going to charge per seat, right? And seats are going to be, good, better, best. And I may have a variable component that I know is going to be X, right? Like, the amount of token consumption in AI is going to be my variable component, and you have to lock it. And if you want to change it, it's a huge pain in the ass. Like you lived with Sora before, like Salesforce billing, all this stuff. Like it's super, super hard. Our aha moment is that if you use a telemetry based system, then you can see everything that the code is doing, and you can change your pricing on by customer if you want it, and you can change your pricing by product if you want it. So there is a little bit of hand holding because the mind explosion, what I just said, is too hard. Like people just can't wrap their head around it, and so we have to gently walk him through this new superpowers. And the way we work, and this is super important, is that every engineer in my organization, we're not that many, gets to be forward deployed. So they get to go and work at the customer site. So like when I call a customer, it's like the way we're going to work is that you're going to have assigned an engineer, and the engineer is going to fork your code. He's going to go and do a bunch of work in it, and then he's going to submit a PR. So you're going to assign it to a buddy, another senior engineer. He's going to work alongside of you. You're going to be done in 3 days. And
Wow.
and I don't do it, I don't do it as a way to deploy fast. I do it so that my engineers get reps of being in the customer shoes. Because that, again, that is the
Wow.
most important thing.
That's a big idea. You're right. That's something that would have been absolutely anathema in the SaaS era. To actually use engineers forward deployed, working, pairing with your customers' developers. Like,
Right. So and that, dude, I don't know why more people don't do it. And when I mention it to somebody else, it's like, oh, you're gonna create a monster, a dinosaur of like, all these different potential solutions. In reality, you don't. Like you figure out how to turn that, piece of custom code or whatever you build alongside your customer into something that reconciles into the broader into your broader system. And it's not hard. Like this is the thing, like code engineering time is not hard. The customers, getting customers and getting into their pain, that's a hard thing.
yeah. Yeah, that's mind blowing. Maybe to talk a little bit about your customers. I went to your website. It looks like a lot of your customers are really new. These are new, smaller companies. They look quite AI first, or these don't look. It's funny because I go see all my friends who are running SaaS companies, and you go to their front page, and none of them say they're SaaS companies. They all say they're AI companies now. But we know they're not. We know they've just sprinkled some AI magic pixie dust on top of their existing model.
Yeah.
I don't see many of those at all on your in your customer roster. So maybe talk to me a little bit about the customers that you have, and is this something that is going to transition into more mainstream companies in the future?
Yeah, no, 100%. So like, so for us to build what we did, we had to go to the future, right? We have to go to the future and see what future companies are doing. So we went to a bunch of, dude, we used to have, like, I myself had 5 conversations with AI startups a day, and my co-founders had like, 2, 3 each. So we accumulated a corpus of like over 300 conversations. And then some of them became customers, and we did it to understand what does agentic code in production look like, built from the ground up as agentic, right? So we do that so that we can now help SaaS companies move from their current from the current business model to something that is going to take over seats, right? So I have to go to the future, learn what's going to happen in the future, come back, and like I feel like I'm a doctor. Like I'm going around to all the SaaS companies being like, hey gentlemen, like we have to change. You have to change the seat pricing. You have to change the delivery mode. You have to care about what outcomes does your customer care about. You have to stop worrying about having your price and packaging being consistent. You have to care about more about what your customer wants. What problems are you solving for them, and how are you
Mm-hmm.
extracting and communicating value? You see what I mean? But that is not normal, dude. Like that didn't happen before. So I'm a little bit in evangelism mode. Is I'm taking all this experience from native AI
Mm-hmm.
startups and I'm bringing it back to my SaaS brethren, right? I grew up with it. Like this is my class, you know what I mean? And try
Yeah.
to help them out.
Are they getting it, or like what is needed to, I guess, cross that chasm, so to speak, where I don't know if you have any more sort of traditional companies that have sort of seen the light, have got your evangelism, and my guess is they probably need to do more than just buy your product, right? I mean, this is a mind shift change. These are different
100%.
processes that happen. I mean, we talked a little bit in our previous call about how pricing for many companies is something that they just kind of do this. Like they often take so much care in their product management around what features they want to deliver and when they want to deliver them. But
Yeah,
yet around pricing and packaging, which I mean, arguably is way more important. I actually challenge anybody to find a company that has really scaled like crazy, where they haven't substantially made a innovation in pricing and packaging, where they've not made an innovation in radically reducing the risk from their customer to buy. You're not going to find a lot. Um,
100%.
but yeah, maybe
100%.
maybe let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what changes do, because you're right, these super modern companies, they don't have to make any changes. They're born AI first. The
Right.
founders are probably in their 20s, and the way we were back when we started our SaaS companies.
You look
So
the same, Mark.
that's
You
all
look
they
the same.
knew. Like in my case, like my co-founder at Eloqua built a multi-tenant SaaS system, not because he was a genius. It's because it's all he knew. It's because he was at what do you call it? He was at a contract manufacturing company, and he needed to figure out how to control factories in China from here. And so the only way to do it was in the cloud. That's all he knew. And so we were probably more lucky than we were good, on that one. So,
100%. I think Julie just came on to tell us that our time is up.
oh,
Yeah, I'm
we're only half an hour. Oh, we're having so much fun.